Functions provide a way to modularize your code and a means of writing code polymorphically. In Java and C++, you declare a function with a modifier, a return type, the function's name, and then a list of parameters wrapped in parentheses. PHP provides a similar method, the key difference being that every function you define in PHP must be prefixed with the keyword function, sort of like JavaScript. Here are some examples. Regardless of what type of function you create, there's a difference between creating the function and using it. When you create the function, that's known as defining the function, or the function definition. That's the code or the statements that you put in between the open and closing curly braces. You can think of it sort of like writing out a to-do list and putting it on your refrigerator door. Now, the other part of using a function, once you've created it or defined it, is that you have to call or invoke it. And that's simply using the function's name and supplying arguments or parameters if necessary, or catching a return value if the function returns a value. This is known, again, as calling or invoking the function. And you could compare it to taking that to-do list off your refrigerator door and then actually going through and doing what's on the list. For clarification, let's re-summarize this. Just as with Java and C++, after you define a function, you must then call or invoke it to cause it to execute the code within it. By default, when you pass arguments to a function, they are passed by value. This means a copy of the variable is made and sent to the function instead of the actual variable. Whatever the function does to the values passed to it are done to the copies and not the originals. Like the C++ language with its references and pointers, PHP gives you a means of passing by reference. To do this, you simply prefix the variable with an ampersand. Passing by reference means that the memory address of the actual object is sent to the function as a parameter or argument instead of a copy. Therefore, whatever you do to the values within the function are also done to the values originally passed in as arguments to that function. For example, here in this example, we've defined the function doStuffWhere to accept an argument by reference instead of by value. Therefore, instead of passing in a copy, which would not change the original argument being passed in, we're passing in a memory address that points to the original variable. So whatever we do to age inside the function doStuffWhere will also affect the value of the global age that's outside of the function. Here's an example with 3 different types of functions. And we're looking at modularizing code by being able to write custom functions in PHP. The first function definition is the simplest type of function. It takes no arguments, no return value. The second function definition takes 1 argument, and the third function definition takes 2 arguments and uses them locally. Now remember that there are 2 parts to modularizing your code with functions. You must define a function, and remember we compared that to sort of writing out the to-do list, put it on your refrigerator. Then later you must call or invoke the function by using its name and passing in arguments if necessary. And then sort of like taking that to-do list off the refrigerator and going and actually doing the things that you wrote on it. Okay, so again, here are the definitions. Now, to cause these functions to occur, to take place, to happen, we have to invoke them. And that's simply the function name. So the simplest function, doStuff1, doesn't require much, just a function name and a semicolon. And that will cause this code to execute inside of doStuff1. The next function, we have to pass in a variable here because it was coded to accept 1 argument, in this case, name. And notice we have a global here, my name, Charles, Germany, my age, 42. Finally, doStuff3 takes 2 arguments, so we have to pass in 2 variables because the definition was coded like so. So if we run it, let's see how that looks. And in this case, inside doStuff1, no arguments, 1 argument, and 2 arguments.